A millionaire CEO took in 4 unwanted kids. Years later, their actions will shatter your heart. But first, let me share this incredible story. Where are you tuning in from? Your locations captivate me. The morning sun pierced the glass of the Grant Enterprises Tower, scattering vibrant shards of light across the Manhattan skyline. At 52, Maxwell had conquered every ambition society held dear. Unfathomable riches, worldwide power, and a business savvy that seemed almost otherworldly. "Mr. Grant," a soft voice called from the doorway. "Your 9 o'clock is off, and the Tokyo investors demand a response by noon." Maxwell faced Victoria Chen, his executive assistant. 2 decades by his side had sharpened her instinct to sense his feelings. Today, she caught the subtle droop of his lips, the faraway gaze in his steel-gray eyes. "Thank you, Victoria," he said, his voice sharp and commanding, as if he expected to be listened to without question. "Inform Tokyo we're on board, and shift the budget meeting to later. I must examine the European figures before deciding anything." Victoria nodded, her fingers flying over the tablet as she captured every word. She paused, a rare moment that instantly drew Maxwell's gaze. He raised an eyebrow, questioning something else. "A new life has arrived, a fundraiser for the orphanage, next Thursday night, Riverdale Home for Kids." Maxwell's expression tightened, a flicker of resolve crossing his face. "I've pledged my heart to 5 charity events this quarter. That's enough. They want you there, not just your money," Victoria insisted, a rare fire in her voice. "The board believes this will enhance our community outreach and improve our image, particularly following last month's manufacturing controversy." Maxwell faced the window, his own gaze piercing through the glass. Perfect charcoal suit, silver-streaked dark hair, and eyes that had turned icy with time. He remembered the headlines. Grant Enterprises shuts down the American factory, sending 300 jobs abroad. The choice was wise in dollars, yet it unleashed the very storm his PR team had dreaded. "All right," he relented. "Just 2 hours." That evening, Maxwell descended in his private elevator to the underground garage, where Harrison stood by the sleek black Bentley, ready for the night ahead. The journey to his Westchester estate was always steeped in silence. Maxwell scanned contracts on his tablet, his voice breaking the silence with urgent notes for Victoria to uncover at dawn. The car glided through the ornate iron gates, revealing Maxwell's mansion, a looming presence at the end of the curved driveway. A stunning blend of the new and the ancient, where modern design meets timeless nature. It gleamed in magazines, a masterpiece of design, yet as the Bentley's headlights illuminated its facade, Maxwell felt the haunting emptiness of the darkened windows. No lights greeted his return. Harrison swung the door wide. "Will you call for me once more? Tonight, sir?" "Absolutely not, Harrison." Grateful beyond words, Maxwell adjusted his tie, a reflex from years in the limelight, not from any real disorder. Within the house, perfection reigned, silence enveloped, and emptiness lingered. His footsteps reverberated on the marble, each step a heartbeat in the vast entryway. The cleaning service arrived, just as they did 3 times a week. Awake. Vibrant blooms filled crystal vases, a fleeting moment of beauty. A fire lay waiting, untouched, in the heart of the living room. Maxwell slipped past the empty dining room, where 18 chairs stood vigil around a table, untouched by family warmth. He stepped into the kitchen, a gleaming realm of stainless steel and granite, untouched by his hands, and reached for a bottle of Macallan 25 hidden in the cabinet. The crystal tumbler clinked sharply as he placed it down, amber liquid cascading within. He clutched his drink as he entered the study, the only space in the mansion that truly belonged to him. Family estates adorned the walls, not of the Grants who rose from nothing, but of the legends Maxwell revered. Edison, Carnegie, Rockefeller, men who forged their legacies in fire. Maxwell sank into his leather chair, heart racing as he unveiled the latest acquisition proposal. Yet, his gaze was drawn to a small silver frame, partially obscured by a pile of financial journals. He seldom faced it head-on, but tonight he dared to touch it, brushing away the dust that had settled like a forgotten memory. A young woman's face beamed with joy. "Rebecca, confront him." Dark curls framed delicate features, and eyes that once saw him as more than just his wealth and transactions. Once university sweethearts, he was the ambitious scholarship student, while she was the gifted artist dreaming of teaching. 25 years vanished in silence, her absence marked only by a fleeting note. "I'm so sorry, Maxwell. I'm done. I can't keep going." For the first and perhaps the only time, something he deeply desired had eluded him. Years later, with resources finally in hand, he found only silence where she once was. He often pondered her fate, questioning if she had discovered joy or if regret haunted her for leaving. Maxwell tucked the frame away, then downed his scotch in one swift motion. Wealth surrounded him, yet the emptiness Rebecca's absence created remained insatiable. He had shared moments with stunning, driven women who accepted his way of life, yet none had broken through the walls he had constructed around his heart. His phone buzzed. A message from Victoria. Confirmed for Riverdale Home for Children, Thursday, 7 p.m. The car arrives at 6:30. Maxwell dropped the phone, silence hanging heavy in the air. A charity event unfolds once more. A fresh chance to save. Another night of forced smiles for the cameras, signing checks that held no weight for a man of his fortune. In the dim light of his vast master suite, Maxwell glimpsed his reflection in the bathroom mirror, a haunting reminder of solitude. His tailored clothes and sculpted physique couldn't hide the exhaustion in his eyes. Not in body. His trainer would never permit it. Yet a darker truth lingered beneath. He slipped into his king-sized bed, solitude wrapping around him, and commanded the house system to extinguish the lights. In the darkness, the mansion's emptiness closed in, suffocating and relentless. Tomorrow promised more deals, more millions, more of the endless cycle. Unbeknownst to him, in merely 3 days, his meticulously built world would shatter, upended by 4 unwanted children. Outside the confines of his desolate mansion, fate was already weaving a tapestry of change that would alter everything. The limousine came to a halt before Riverdale Home. In a worn brick building, paint flaking and windows clouded with memories, Maxwell adjusted his custom tie, the 2-hour countdown echoing in his mind. A handful of photos with the kids, followed by your heartfelt speech and the impactful donation presentation. Maxwell's nod was sharp, a silent storm brewing within. "Let's just finish this." Mrs. Winters, the orphanage director, welcomed them with warmth, her kind eyes shining beneath her gray-streaked hair. "Mr. Grant, it's a privilege to meet you." The children can hardly contain their excitement to meet you. The main room burst with handmade signs and vibrant streamers, alive with anticipation. 30 children, cross-legged on the floor, their faces a blend of curiosity and practiced politeness. Maxwell's speech fell flat. Rehearsed phrases about community and future investments spilling out without heart. Cameras flashed as he held the oversized check, his smile bright yet hollow, confident and generous, but devoid of warmth. "Care for a tour?" Mrs. Winters inquired later. "Mr. Grant's schedule is tight," Claudia cut in, her voice sharp. Maxwell surprised himself as he said, a short tour would be fine. As they navigated the building, Maxwell observed the tattered furniture, the antiquated facilities, a space struggling to survive with meager means. The children they passed gazed at him, caught between wonder and caution. "And this," Mrs. Winters said, her voice low as she opened the door at the end of the hallway, "is our special projects room." 4 children toiled in silence, isolated from the rest. A teenage girl with piercing eyes watched over a younger boy grappling with math challenges. A small girl with wild curls painted with fervor, while a 10-year-old boy meticulously crafted a complex structure from recycled materials. "These are our special cases," Mrs. Winters whispered, her voice heavy with significance. 4 names, each a heartbeat, each a story waiting to unfold. They've stood by us through it all. "Where were they during the presentation?" Maxwell inquired. "Where were they during the presentation?" Maxwell inquired. Mrs. Winters paused, her heart racing. Emily feels the weight of anxiety in the midst of the crowd, surrounded by others. "Our moments together are slipping away and it hurts." "What comes next?" Maxwell questioned everything. They may soon find themselves in different foster homes, apart from one another. Emily's age complicates her placement significantly. These 4 children held Maxwell's gaze, an undeniable pull he couldn't resist. Emily looked up, locking eyes with him, her gaze fierce and unyielding. "Hi," Maxwell said, his usual confidence faltering. "Are you the wealthy figure everyone has been toiling for?" she demanded, cutting through the silence. "Emily," Mrs. Winters scolded, but Maxwell silenced her with a raised hand. "Everything will be okay. Indeed, I believe I am. Why not?" "Why? Why?" the younger boy Daniel asked, his voice trembling with curiosity. "What makes me wealthy?" Maxwell responded, bewildered. "No, what makes you care about this place?" Maxwell was taken aback by the question. In his realm, motives remained unchallenged. They embraced his generosity, hearts full of gratitude. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, the tiniest girl stepped forward, presenting her painting, a strikingly skilled depiction of what seemed to be a family. "It's not over," she whispered. "I can't seem to get it right with him." A chill coursed through Maxwell as he grasped the painting. Understanding, a bond, an unspoken feeling. These children, cast aside by society, ignited a fire within him that had long been extinguished. "Mr. Grant, we need to leave," Claudia urged, glancing at her watch. Maxwell's ears were closed to the world. A choice crystallized, sudden, reckless, and undeniably vivid. "Mrs. Winters," he whispered. His voice had changed, carrying a weight that pierced through the silence. "Let's talk about adoption possibilities." "You've completely lost your mind," Richard Hargrove declared, pacing frantically in Maxwell's office. For 15 years, Richard served as legal counsel for Grant Enterprises, observing Maxwell's cold calculations. But this was unprecedented. 4 children, Maxwell. Their laughter echoes, but shadows linger. 4. You've never known the warmth of a pet's love. Maxwell stood still, eyes locked on the Manhattan skyline, a storm brewing within. "The paperwork is done. Home studies kick off next week." Victoria burst in, clutching a stack of documents, urgency radiating from her every move. "The contractors come tomorrow to transform the East Wing. Interviews with 7 nannies are set, and the school applications are in motion." Richard raised his hands in despair. "The board is in chaos. Business Week seeks to explore your unexpected transformation into a devoted family man. Your shareholders will relish the 18% profit surge this quarter." Maxwell cut in. "I must go. My family awaits." 2 weeks later, Maxwell faced the changed East Wing of his mansion. Cold simplicity transformed into vibrant warmth. 4 bedrooms, each a reflection of the souls he was just starting to grasp. Emily sits in deep blues, her writing desk a silent witness to her thoughts. Daniel's space features sleek bookshelves and a vibrant junior science station. Sophie's vibrant art corner bursts with rainbow hues. Michael's space pulses with music-themed decor and a striking keyboard. Mr. Grant summoned Mrs. Harper, the housekeeper he had chosen, her presence both comforting and commanding. They've arrived. Maxwell's heart pounded as he hurried down the grand staircase. Mrs. Winters stood in the foyer, the 4 children around her, their mismatched bags strewn at their feet. Emily, 15, stood fiercely in front of the others, a shield against the storm. Daniel, 10, watched intently, his mind racing with questions. Sophie, 7, gripped her sketchbook, while Michael, 8, remained hauntingly quiet. Chapter 4 will be crafted with around 3,000 characters, just as you asked. Chapter 4, The Billionaires Club. The mahogany doors of the Metropolitan Club creaked open, and Maxwell stepped inside, a familiar nod exchanged with the doorman who had welcomed him for 2 decades. Each month, New York's financial titans convened, wielding power over global markets, their fates intertwined over brandy and cigars. Tonight felt electric, charged with an unspoken tension. Conversations halted, eyes fixed on Maxwell as he moved through the room, whispers trailing behind him. "Awaken. Maxwell, I hear you've taken on the role of Father Flanagan," reaching out to Philip Westover, the CEO of that rival investment firm. "What comes now?" A show that reveals the raw truth. Soft laughter echoed among the group surrounding him. 4 children, Grant said, as Thomas Blackwell slid a crystal tumbler of scotch toward Maxwell. "My PR team would have warned me against taking even a single step forward. The market shuns sentimentality." Maxwell took the drink, yet it remained untouched. "I didn't realize the market had a say in my choices, Thomas." Eleanor Wellington, a rare presence among the men, strode forward, commanding attention as the head of a major foundation. "Just let them go, Maxwell. They're stunned to realize one of their own could truly feel. The conversation danced through dinner, a mix of hidden worry and sharp doubt. Maxwell held his ground, but inside, his patience frayed. "Be honest with us, Grant," Howard Pierce said, leaning in over dessert, his voice low and urgent. "Is this a clever tax ploy or a defensive strike against the Senate committee probing corporate giving?" Maxwell's phone vibrated, cutting through the moment. A message from Mrs. Harper. "Sophie waits, eyes wide, heart racing, for your return to share the goodnight story." "Your promise?" Maxwell stood abruptly. "Gentlemen, Eleanor. Obligation beckons. Parental duty?" He scoffed. "Why? Homebound." Maxwell responded with a chilling calmness, a notion as alien to some as the simplest act of kindness. The silence that trailed him to the doctor felt more fulfilling than any deal struck. Maxwell entered the grand library, his heart racing as he spotted Sophie, a storybook pressed tightly against her chest. Her face lit up at the sight of him. "You returned. Mrs. Harper suggested you might have too much on your plate." "I made a promise, didn't I?" Maxwell loosened his tie, sinking beside her, the air thick with unspoken tension. Victoria stood at the doorway, her curiosity palpable and unmasked. After years of loyalty, she was confronted with a side of Maxwell she never knew existed. "The board meeting tomorrow," she whispered as Sophie drifted into slumber. "They worry about your shifting focus. Set it for 3 p.m. rather than 9 a.m. I vowed to be there for Daniel's science presentation." Victoria's eyebrows shot up, yet she gave a firm nod. "Something more lurks beneath the surface. A letter arrived, addressed to you, marked personal." With trembling hands, she passed him the envelope. "Rebecca Winters is the sender." Maxwell stood still, his heart racing. Rebecca. The name echoed in my mind, stirring something deep within. Maxwell's hands trembled as he tore open the envelope. A yellowed newspaper clipping lay inside, his younger face staring back, heralding his first major acquisition from 2 decades past. "In that moment, you transformed into the person you had always dreamed of becoming. Was it worth it? Lost forever?" Silence speaks volumes. A specter from his past, breaking through time's veil. "Yes," Victoria asked. "Is everything okay?" Maxwell hid the clipping, heart racing. "All right. Only a faded memory." That night, restless and haunted, Maxwell roamed the shifting shadows of his home. The quiet rhythm of a keyboard echoed from Emily's room. The girl wrote feverishly, her thoughts spiraling into a whirlwind of words. In Daniel's room, open books sprawled next to intricate diagrams, whispering secrets of a restless mind. Sophie's art supplies lay in perfect order, poised for the dawn's spark of creativity. In Michael's room, soft breaths filled the air, the night light painting stars on the ceiling. These children, enigmatic and demanding, had shattered his once structured life, becoming more invaluable with each passing moment. Rebecca's message pierced through the silence, cryptic and laced with accusation. Maxwell lingered at the window, gazing out at the moonlit expanse. For the first time in decades, Grant Enterprises faded from his mind. A deeper truth emerged, overshadowing all else. "Welcome," Maxwell said, a chill creeping into his voice as he realized the darkness of his home. "I want you to feel at home here." "Why not?" Emily inquired, her piercing gaze as unwavering as the first time he had met it. "What makes us stand out?" Maxwell had pondered that question endlessly in recent weeks. "No logical explanation exists," he confessed. "Often, the choices that matter most defy logic." Emily's stance was tense, yet she gave a faint nod. Those initial days felt painfully uncomfortable. Maxwell, a master of boardrooms, now struggled in the chaos of breakfast tables and bedtime rituals. The children, shaped by past letdowns, faced their new reality with trepidation. On the 4th night, a thunderstorm shook the mansion's windows violently. Maxwell was deep in contracts when Mrs. Harper's urgent knock shattered the silence. "It's Sophie." She shattered, trembling at the roar of thunder. Maxwell discovered the small girl curled beneath her blankets, shaking with fear. "Sophie?" His voice barely a whisper. "I need Emily," the voice whispered, heavy with longing. "Answer. She lies in slumber. May I lend a hand?" Sophie glanced outside. "Have you heard the thunder song?" No, I don't. Will you show me? Sophie paused, then let a haunting melody flow, depicting thunder as clouds drumming in a stormy dance. Maxwell heard her, then added his hesitant voice, a rough baritone intertwining with hers. They sang through the tempest, Sophie surrendering to sleep at last. Maxwell paused, caught in Emily's gaze from the doorway. You didn't have to do that, she whispered, her voice trembling. I longed to. A fleeting spark of trust ignited in Emily's eyes. Since our mother passed, her voice has been silent. Maxwell nodded, a deep understanding in his eyes. This burden of knowledge. Sweet dreams, Emily. Sleep well, Maxwell. It wasn't Dad or Mr. Grant. It was something more. A spark, a beginning. The next morning, Maxwell stepped into the kitchen, startled to see all 4 children already seated. I hope we did this right, Emily said, her eyes darting to the clumsily set table. Breakfast was made, burnt toast, orange juice spilling over glass rims, yet their hopeful, uncertain expressions turned this into the most pivotal meal of Maxwell Grant's life. He settled among them, and the mansion breathed out, awakening from years of silence. Maxwell stepped through the mahogany doors of the Metropolitan Club, a nod to the doorman who had welcomed him for 2 decades. Each month, New York's financial titans convened, wielding power over global markets, their fates intertwined over brandy and cigars. Tonight felt charged, electric with unspoken tension. In morn, conversations halted, eyes fixed on Maxwell as he moved through the room, whispers trailing behind him. Wake, Maxwell. I hear you've taken on the role of Father Flanagan, reaching out to Philip Westover, the CEO of that rival investment firm. What comes next? A show that reflects reality. Soft laughter echoed among the group surrounding him. My PR team would have warned me against taking even a single step forward. The market shuns sentimentality. Maxwell took the drink, yet his lips remained untouched. I didn't realize the market had a say in my choices, Thomas. Eleanor Wellington, a rare presence among the men, stepped forward, commanding attention as the head of a major foundation. Just let them go, Maxwell. They're stunned to realize that one on them could truly feel. The conversation danced through dinner, a tightrope of hidden worry and bold doubt. Maxwell held steady on the outside, but inside his patience frayed dangerously. Be honest with us, Grant, Howard Pierce urged, his voice low as he leaned in over dessert. Is this a complex scheme for taxes? Is this a strategic strike against the Senate committee probing corporate philanthropy? Probing corporate philanthropy? Maxwell's phone vibrated, cutting through the moment. A message from Mrs. Harper. Sophie waits, eyes wide, heart racing, longing for your return to share the night's tale. Maxwell stood abruptly, the weight of your promise hanging in the air. Gentlemen, Eleanor, the moment has arrived. Parental duty, he scoffed. So ordinary yet so profound. Maxwell responded with a chilling calmness. The silence that trailed him to the door felt more rewarding than any deal. A concept as alien to some as simple human decency. Maxwell entered the grand library to find Sophie, a storybook pressed tightly against her heart. Her face lit up at the sight of him. You returned. Mrs. Harper hinted you could be overwhelmed. I made a promise, didn't I? Maxwell loosened his tie, settling beside her, tension crackling in the air. Victoria stood in the doorway, her curiosity burning bright. After years of loyalty, she was confronted with a side of Maxwell she never knew existed. The board meeting tomorrow, she whispered as Sophie drifted into slumber. Worry shadows their thoughts about your shifting focus. Maxwell's jaw clenched. Set it for 3 p.m. rather than 9 a.m. I made a vow to Daniel. I would be there for his science presentation. Victoria's eyebrows shot up, yet she nodded, a storm brewing behind her eyes. Something more lurks beneath the surface. A letter arrived, addressed just for you, its contents deeply personal. With trembling hands, she passed him the envelope. It's Rebecca Winters who sends this. Maxwell stood still, his heart racing wildly. Rebecca, the name echoed in my mind, stirring something deep within. Maxwell's hands trembled as he tore open the envelope. A yellowed newspaper clipping lay inside, his younger face staring back, heralding his first major acquisition from 2 decades ago. In that moment you realized you had finally become the person you always dreamed of being. Was it worth it? Address lost, hope fading, none needed, a specter from yesterday, breaking through time's veil. Yes? Victoria urged. Is everything okay? Maxwell hid the clipping, heart racing. All right, only a fleeting memory. Only a fleeting memory. That night, restless and haunted, Maxwell roamed the shifting shadows of his home. In Emily's room, the keyboard tapped softly, each stroke a pulse of her thoughts, weaving her world into words. In Daniel's room, open books whispered secrets beside intricate diagrams. Sophie's art supplies lay in perfect order, poised for the dawn spark of creativity. In Michael's room, soft breaths filled the air, the nightlight painting stars on the ceiling. These children, enigmatic and demanding, had shattered his once structured life, becoming more invaluable with each passing moment. Rebecca's message pierced through the silence, laden with mystery and blame. Maxwell lingered at the window, gazing out at the moonlit expanse, heart racing. For the first time in decades, Grant Enterprises faded from his mind. A greater force had emerged. Autumn ignited the Westchester estate in vivid colors as Maxwell Grant embarked on a daring journey to forge family traditions. The mansion's vast backyard, once a mere facade, now buzzed with 4 children unearthing its hidden magic. See me, Maxwell? Known as Michael, teetering on a fragile log. The once quiet boy had slowly broken free from his shell in the last 2 months, especially in the open air. Careful, Maxwell said, battling the sudden impulse to leap forward and avert disaster. From her hidden spot beneath the gnarled maple, Emily glanced up from her journal. He's okay. His balance is extraordinary. Maxwell nodded, the weight of her words sinking in. He realized Emily understood her sibling's strengths far better than he ever could, a truth that stung and humbled him deeply. Daniel Grant arrived, clutching a handful of leaves. Did you know that sugar maples burst into vibrant red when the nights chill but the days stay warm? Maxwell confessed. I didn't. Fascinating. I'm cataloging the species on the property, Daniel said, his earnest gaze piercing, like a young professor unveiling a profound truth, a mission for life's diversity. Maxwell knelt, eyes locked on Daniel's collection, sensing a spark of connection waiting to ignite. At your age, I crafted a system to classify the minerals in the rocks I discovered near our apartment. It was a thrilling adventure. Daniel's eyes grew large with shock. You like science as well? I did, Maxwell said, a sudden rush of forgotten passion flooding back. Yet, my heart still lingers, even as I turn to financial systems. Sophie emerged, curls tousled, cheeks burning with effort. Maxwell, I created something just for you. With urgency, she pressed a crumpled paper into his hands. A watercolor of 5 figures clasping hands beneath vibrant trees. Is it really us? He inquired with caution. Sophie nodded, her determination palpable. Our first autumn together as a family. Mrs. Harper urged us to create memories, so I captured one in paint. Maxwell gazed at the image, a surge of emotion hitting him as he realized he was part of this family portrait. It's breathtaking, Sophie. Grateful beyond words. That evening, after the homework was done and the little ones were asleep, Maxwell discovered Emily in the library, lost in a sea of college brochures. Harvard, Princeton, Yale. He watched, heart racing, driven. Emily's face was a mask of restraint. Only the search for truth. I understand the cost is high. Cost doesn't matter, Maxwell interjected softly. Your education is paramount. Emily studied him, her evaluating gaze stripping away his carefully constructed facades. What drives you to do all this? Seriously? The question lingered, a weight Maxwell couldn't lift. Before he could even think, Emily pressed on. Your life was flawlessly structured, yet chaos intrudes, shattering order, creating turmoil, and craving recognition. What do you gain from this setup? Maxwell hesitated, the rehearsed words for business and media swirling in his mind, tempting him to retreat. In a shocking twist, he embraced the truth. I had it all, the success, the accolades, but every night, I came home to nothing, he whispered. That day at Riverdale, everything shifted. Words failed to capture it. Emily's doubt lingered, yet a spark of comprehension ignited in her gaze. Daniel believes you possess extraordinary scientific brilliance. Sophie thinks you're a miracle. Sophie thinks you're a miracle, Michael observes, absorbing every moment, storing it deep within. And you? Maxwell asked, his voice heavy with unspoken weight. Emily shut the Harvard brochure, heart racing. I'm torn. Maxwell nodded, embracing the uncertainty. Understood. As he walked away, Emily called out, Sophie has an art showcase next Thursday. It means everything to her. Maxwell vowed to be there. As Maxwell walked to his study, a weight settled in his chest. His calendar overflowed with science fairs, art shows, and parent-teacher conferences, once trivial, now urgent, eclipsing board meetings and investor calls. His world spun wildly, priorities shifting as 4 young lives emerged, inexplicably, as the very core of his existence. The Taylor merger is non-negotiable, Maxwell declared, his voice slicing through the tension in the Grant Enterprises boardroom. The meeting dragged on, now in its 3rd hour, and the air crackled with tension. In the air. Were crowded with tension. CFO Harrison Wells voiced his concerns about the timing. Market chaos and personal stakes have left shareholders on edge. Maxwell's gaze sharpened. What about my situation? Richard Hargrove swallowed hard. Maxwell, your shift in focus worries us. The adoption has turned into sensational gossip. A shadow looms over perception. My children are not a matter of perception, Maxwell shot back, icy resolve in his voice. My children lingered in the silence. 6 months ago, those words would have felt impossible to utter. Victoria slipped in quietly, her eyes locked on Maxwell as she handed him a note. Daniel's school reached out. Urgent crisis. Maxwell sprang to his feet. The meeting is over. Oh no. Victoria will find another time. We haven't, yet, finalized the Taylor terms. Stood firm against Wells. They'll wait, Maxwell said, his footsteps echoing as he moved toward the door. Urgent family crisis. Half an hour later, Maxwell's Bentley glided to a stop at Westchester Academy, a prestigious private school with tuition that matched college fees. Daniel sat outside the headmaster's office, a bruised cheek and a torn blazer telling a silent, painful story. Daniel, Maxwell whispered, kneeling to meet his gaze. What transpired? The boy's eyes burned with defiance, a fierce red that spoke volumes. I won't say I'm sorry. Headmaster Phillips loomed behind his massive desk, flanked by a boy with a bloodied nose and his anxious father. Maxwell understood. Charles Whitmore, leader of Whitmore Pharmaceuticals, a key client of Grant Enterprises. Mr. Grant, Phillips started, his voice trembling with urgency. Daniel hit Justin during recess, and now fear lingers in the air. Violence will not be tolerated, period. He had it coming, Daniel whispered. Daniel, Maxwell warned, turning to Phillips. What sparked this event? Justin Whitmore's smirk barely concealed the tension as his father seethed. Is it important? Your ward assaulted my son. Maxwell's tone was unwavering. This means everything to me. Daniel's gaze lifted. He claimed we were never a true family. You took us in for show, ready to cast us aside when the novelty wore off. Maxwell's heart raced with a fierce, protective rage. Understood. Boys will be boys. Whitmore scoffed, yet some are undeniably lost in their upbringing. Charles, Maxwell said, his smile a mere mask, eyes cold and distant. Before you proceed, be aware that Whitmore Pharmaceuticals' exclusivity contract with Grant Medical Supply is nearing its renewal deadline. The weight of the implication was palpable. Whitmore's face turned to stone. Maxwell kept seeking Phillips, drawn in by an unspoken urgency. If Westchester Academy allows bullying rooted in family structure, we must rethink our substantial donation for the new science wing. Phillips went white. Mr. Grant, I promise you. Daniel fought back against the cruelty. Maxwell interjected. I demand swift action against Justin and a bold initiative for embracing family diversity throughout the school. The car was heavy with silence until Daniel broke it, his voice cutting through the tension. Are you angry with me? Maxwell weighed his response, tension thick in the air. Violence isn't the answer, yet I can feel your pain. What Justin claimed, it's all lies. I understand. Daniel's response caught Maxwell off guard. That's why I exploded with rage. You're everything. He paused, heart racing. Welcome to the family, a weight pressed down on Maxwell's chest. Indeed, we are bound by blood and heart. That evening, a call pierced the silence. Maxwell's heart raced as he recognized Richard Hargrove's name. Charles is threatening the Whitmore contract. To move forward, let him go. Maxwell responded. I'll go. Maxwell responded. It's a $50 million bond, Maxwell, and Daniel is my flesh and blood. The words flowed effortlessly, charged with meaning. There are lines you can't cross, Richard. Maxwell hung up, and there stood Emily in the doorway of his study. I heard about today, with Daniel, she said, her voice trembling. Maxwell braced himself for the storm of criticism. Emily stood as the most secretive of the four. She just said, thank you for believing him. Absolutely, Maxwell responded. Why not? Emily shrugged, yet her eyes revealed a flicker of warmth. Many adults choose the path of least resistance. As she walked away, Maxwell felt an undeniable change in the air. By defending Daniel, he unwittingly crossed a vital threshold in Emily's perception, inching closer to her trust. Why can't we attend the charity gala? Sophie inquired, her bottom lip quivering just a touch. I got a new dress, and it's everything. Maxwell tightened his bow tie, eyes locked on his reflection in the hallway mirror. The hour is late, Sophie. Mrs. Harper has organized a movie night for everyone. The Grant Foundation Gala was Maxwell's pinnacle event, uniting New York's elite to raise millions for children's education. This year, he hesitated to go, drawn instead to the wild embrace of his new family life. You look handsome, Michael murmured, lingering close. Among the children, he stood out as the most mysterious, always watching, never truly engaging. Thank you, Michael, Maxwell said, his heart racing at the unexpected praise. Emily hurried down the stairs, clutching a textbook tightly. 9 months into their new life, she slowly shed her role as the ever-watchful guardian, embracing fleeting moments of youthful freedom. A thunderstorm is coming, she stated flatly. Sophie could be reaching for you. Maxwell's brow furrowed deeply. Sophie's anxiety during the storm surged, consuming her entirely. Maybe I should remain. We'll take care of it. Emily cut in, catching everyone off guard. Mrs. Harper understands the thunder song, and I will remain by her side. The silence screamed truth. They were discovering their strength together, no longer relying solely on Maxwell. Call if you need anything, he said, his eyes lingering on Victoria as he turned to leave. The gala unfolded with an air of inevitability. Champagne poured, checkbooks unleashed, and Maxwell's words ignited a fervor for educational opportunity. All evening, his mind kept racing back home. Eleanor Wellington noted his transformation as she joined him on the terrace, where he sought a fleeting moment of solitude. Maxwell's smile held a hint of irony. Is that a critique or a mere observation? Eleanor responded, her words sharp and clear. You feel more alive. Maxwell's phone vibrated, cutting through the moment. A message from Mrs. Harper. Storm hit hard, Sophie shattered. Emily reaching out, but longing for you. Excuse me, Maxwell said, urgency lacing his voice. Urgent family crisis. Eleanor nodded, a spark of understanding in her eyes. Run. They crave you more than the socialites crave another empty speech. 30 minutes later, Maxwell burst through his front door, still clad in formal attire, only to discover the living room utterly transformed. Blankets and pillows wove a fortress, flashlights casting constellations on the ceiling. Amidst the storm's fury, her giggle pierced through, a haunting surprise that lingered in the air. Is anyone there? He called, leaning in to look closer. The 4 children huddled in pajamas, surrounded by their makeshift shelter. Maxwell, Sophie gasped. We built a fortress against the tempest. He stared, confusion etched on his face. You look fine. Emily sat, laptop aglow, lost in thought. We discovered storm sounds on YouTube, starting softly, then slowly intensifying to ease her fears. Daniel's vision ignites a spark. Daniel's nod was heavy with meaning, facing fears head-on. I absorbed every word. Maxwell glanced at Mrs. Harper, her amused expression piercing through the tension. I believed Sophie was heartbroken. At first, she was just the housekeeper. The explanation lingered in the air. Then, their plan was set in motion. Sophie wanted to reach out to you directly, but Emily feared it would only cause you distress. Maxwell glanced at the children, his heart heavy with love. United in the struggle, we confront the challenge head-on. Something within him shattered, unleashing a torrent of feelings. He struggled to find the words. "Can I come with you?" He pointed to the fort, his eyes burning with urgency. In a heartbeat, they exchanged glances and instinctively moved aside. Maxwell crept in, his sharp tuxedo a stark contrast to the playful pajamas surrounding him. Michael shared tales of our beginnings, where it all started. Truth or fantasy. Rain pounded the windows, thunder rumbled far away, and Sophie nestled against Maxwell, fearless. Daniel spun a wild story of being born from a meteor, while Emily's eyes were fixed on Maxwell, probing, always probing, to gauge whether he would join the game or brush it off as mere folly. "And you, Maxwell?" Sophie finally spoke up. "Where did your story begin?" Maxwell, usually reserved at business events, unexpectedly unveiled tales of his modest origins. His mother's cramped apartment, the life-altering scholarship, and fleeting memories of Rebecca. As the storm faded, a new reality took shape within the blanket fort. A bond forged, a connection deepening, a family discovering its heartbeat amidst the chaos. "Dad, where's my acceptance letter? I require it for the registration portal." Emily's voice pierced the silence of the mansion, now a chaotic tapestry of memories and emotions. Maxwell's gaze lifted from the screen, where the weight of quarterly reports had given way to the urgency of college financial aid forms. "Look in the folder in my study." 4. Time had reshaped the Grant mansion and its inhabitants, leaving scars and shadows in its wake. At 19, Emily transformed from a guarded teenager into a confident young woman, ready to conquer Columbia University. Her eyes, once weary, now burned with determination, fiercely guarding her siblings. She found it. She called back. Maxwell's heart raced, the memory of her radiant smile upon receiving the acceptance flooding his mind. Her hesitant question about parents' weekend revealed the doubt lingering in her heart, unsure of where she stood with him. "Dad, Daniel's here, 14 now, towering over Maxwell. Let's talk about the science symposium in Boston next month. I've received an invitation to showcase my environmental impact model." "Absolutely," Maxwell responded. "Get Victoria to secure those dates." Daniel's brilliance soared, his groundbreaking research on microplastics capturing the gaze of prestigious universities. The once timid, thoughtful boy stood tall, his newfound confidence shattering the chains of doubt. Piano notes floated through the air, each one a heartbeat as Michael prepared for his recital. At 12, his silent watch transformed into art, his voice found in melodies, not words. "Dad, look! It's here!" Sophie stormed into the room, her boundless energy electrifying the air. At 11, she lunged forward, presenting a vivid canvas to him. "It's the day we celebrate new beginnings." The painting captured their family by the garden fountain, perspective off-kilter, yet the emotion was undeniable. 4 years back, Maxwell declared Adoption Day a family holiday, celebrating the moment they became a family in the eyes of the law. "It's beautiful, Sophie. A stunning focal point for your dinner table." Sophie glowed, her curls transformed into stunning braids, a skill perfected by Mrs. Harper. Emily's crafting her beloved pasta. Daniel crafts science wonders while Michael pours his soul into a song. "Sounds perfect," Maxwell replied, overwhelmed by how entirely these children had captured his heart. Victoria stood in the doorway, transformed by the weight of this new family dynamic. "Mr. Grant, the board is on edge, waiting for you." In the midst of the conference call, just 10 minutes, Maxwell vowed. The John and Rebecca Grant Foundation, born 2 years ago, passionately dedicates itself to funding adoptions for hard-to-place children. Maxwell named it for himself, but mostly for Rebecca, her memory now a bittersweet echo rather than a source of pain. That evening, gathered around the dining table, they celebrated 4 years as a family. Maxwell watched each child, his heart swelling with quiet awe. They argued fiercely, laughter echoing, jabs flying, each moment charged with tension. Every action that would have sent shivers down his spine in a past existence. Sophie pounded her fork against the glass, her voice a fierce command. Emily, caught off guard, slowly lowered her hand, Maxwell cleared his throat, a rare wave of emotion washing over him. 4 years back, I chose the path that changed everything. I believed I was saving 4 kids, but in reality you saved me. He lifted his glass to family. Not the one of blood, but the one forged in love. As their glasses clinked, Maxwell felt Emily's gaze, her expression heavy with unspoken thoughts. Later, as they cleared dishes together, Maxwell Grant, billionaire and CEO, found himself unexpectedly immersed in kitchen duties. Her voice barely broke the silence. Sometimes, I can't shake the question. Why us? Maxwell weighed his words, the tension thick in the air. Maybe we were meant to find one another. Emily nodded, a flicker of satisfaction crossing her face. Fate's twist led us here, and I wouldn't change a thing. Maxwell smiled, eyes fixed on his children in the kitchen. Daniel animatedly shared a scientific idea, while Sophie and Michael absorbed it, each in their own way. Not an accident, he whispered, his voice barely a breath, lost in thought yet heavy with meaning. Family, I don't want you to solve this, Dad. Emily's voice pierced the silence of the mansion, the bedroom door crashing shut, sending picture frames trembling on the walls. Maxwell stood frozen in the hallway, reeling from the eruption of fury. Home for winter break during her sophomore year at Columbia, Emily had grown distant, her silence heavy and unsettling. This outburst was the explosive result of his desperate attempts to connect. Daniel emerged from his room, headphones draped around his neck. What occurred? Maxwell sighed, fingers brushing through his silvering hair. I longed to understand. At 15, Daniel emerged as a wise young man, the family's anchor in turbulent times. A family's anchor in turbulent times. She texts furiously, since arriving home, hiding her screen whenever footsteps approach. Maxwell nodded, a spark of respect igniting within him for Daniel's keen insight. Got any ideas? More than a few, Daniel answered, his voice heavy with meaning. She's probably digging into the truth about our biological parents. Emily's age heightens her vulnerability to questions of identity, as the numbers suggest. Maxwell's chest constricted painfully. The children's origins lingered in the air, unspoken yet palpable, a shadow that danced just beyond the edges of their everyday lives. Years have passed since Riverdale home revealed its scant details. Mother gone, father a mystery. Must I? Should I let her breathe? Or draw her closer? Maxwell sought Daniel's insight, his sincerity palpable. Daniel paused, heart racing. First, a void, then a bold advance. Emily values honesty above everything. That evening, Maxwell tapped softly on Emily's door, cradling a cup of her beloved tea. Silence hung heavy, until a soft voice beckoned, "Come in." Emily sat on her bed, papers strewn around her, laptop glowing in the dim light. Her eyes glistened with resolve, fierce and unyielding. "A peace offering," Maxwell said, extending the tea. Emily took it, a flicker of a smile crossing her lips. "I regret raising my voice." "I'm sorry I pushed," Maxwell said, sitting on the edge of her bed, tension hanging in the air. "Care to share what's happening?" Emily inhaled sharply. "I seek the truth of my birth parents, yearning to uncover the roots of our existence." Maxwell nodded, bracing for what was to come. "That's utterly normal. Emily, I've always stood by your journey to embrace that side of yourself." "That's just it," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "My identity feels lost, slipping away. I'm Emily Grant, the billionaire's daughter, navigating an Ivy League world where my name overshadows my worth." Her finger pointed at the laptop screen, revealing a DNA testing service. "I seek the truth of my origins, the essence of who I truly am." "This is everything." Her hand swept through the air, capturing the mansion and the opulent life they now inhabited. "I understand," Maxwell whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. "I don't claim to know everything, but I do understand this truth. Your essence transcends DNA and wealth. Your choices shape it. Your values define it. Your actions bring it to life." Emily's shoulders fell, heavy with despair. "How can I discern the true essence of myself? At times, I sense I'm merely acting, the thankful adopted daughter of Maxwell Grant, What if the true me is a stranger? Maxwell weighed her words, each one heavy with meaning. The real you is not a destination. It's a journey of constant discovery. And Emily, she lingered in the shadows, a whisper of what once was. He grasped her hand, uncertainty hanging in the air, a pivotal moment in their journey. Emily tightened her grip on his fingers. Would you dare? Would it hurt you if I took this DNA test? What if I dared to dig deeper? Never, Maxwell vowed, his eyes burning with conviction. If you need me, I'm here. What you find won't alter our bond. Emily brushed a tear aside. I'm lost in my search, unsure of what I seek. Everything hangs in the balance, or perhaps nothing at all. Maxwell nodded, his eyes reflecting her turmoil. That's fine as well. Just as he turned to go, Emily's voice broke through the silence. Dad? What is it? Thank you for allowing me to navigate this chaos. Maxwell smiled. That's what family is for, Emily. We hold on tight through the chaos. The spring rain drummed softly on the windows of Maxwell's study as he pored over Emily's research from the last 2 months. DNA test results, birth records, medical histories, all meticulously organized in a folder labeled Project Origins. The DNA testing confirmed what we already knew, Emily explained, pacing the room. We are siblings by blood, yet I've reached a dead end in my search for our birth mother, only holding on to the name Rebecca Wilson. Maxwell's heart raced at the sound of Rebecca's name. He had always felt it lurking beneath the surface, but the confirmation struck him like a punch to the gut. Wilson is a common surname, he said carefully. Do you have any other identifying information? Emily shook her head, frustration boiling over. She was only 26 when she lost her life, bringing us into the world with no father mentioned anywhere. We arrived at Riverdale, brought in by a county hospital transfer. 15 years ago, a fire consumed the storage, leaving most records in ruins. Maxwell gazed at his daughter, her face a blend of fierce resolve and fragile uncertainty. At 20, Emily stood at the threshold of adulthood, increasingly reflective about her past. She felt lost, adrift in a world that seemed to have no room for her. What would you hope to find? He asked gently. Emily collapsed into the leather chair opposite him. Photos could help, but medical history is crucial. Sophie must be aware of any hereditary conditions for her health forms. Only tales, her essence, her passions. She paused, heart racing. Perhaps we'll uncover the truth about our biological father. Maxwell nodded, feeling the weight of her longing. Let me in. I want to help. I possess tools that could reveal truths hidden from ordinary searches. Would you really go that far? Emily gasped in disbelief. Are you really not concerned about what we could uncover? Maxwell's smile held a haunting mix of joy and sorrow. Emily, I am your father, by choice, not by blood. What you find won't alter a thing. The hunt grew more desperate as the weeks dragged on. Maxwell discreetly dispatched a specialized team from Grant Enterprises, shrouding key details in secrecy. The children learned of the investigation, their reactions a whirlwind of emotions. Daniel faced it like a thrilling enigma. Sophie painted a vision of their birth mother, her emotions pouring onto the canvas, while Michael stood silently, lost in thought. 3 weeks later, Maxwell's private investigator called for an urgent meeting. Sir, we discovered something strange, Jenkins said, pushing a folder across Maxwell's desk. Rebecca Wilson, who tragically lost her life bringing quadruplets into the world at County General. We found her last home, a Brooklyn apartment shadowed by secrets. Maxwell opened the folder, revealing lease documents and a faded photocopy of a driver's license. The face was a haze, yet it tugged at my heartstrings with haunting familiarity. Jenkins revealed that her emergency contact was Rebecca Winters, her mother. We can't find her, but there's more to this story. He paused, heart racing. A Maxwell grant co-signed the lease. Maxwell's gaze locked onto the document, his own signature from 25 years ago haunting him. The room swayed, a subtle shift that sent a jolt through the air. That's not possible, he whispered, yet deep down, he understood it was not just possible, but undeniably true. Sir, Jenkins replied, his voice steady and measured. Did you know Ms. Wilson? Maxwell's thoughts surged, a whirlwind of calculations and possibilities. Rebecca Wilson was once Rebecca Winters, he said, his voice heavy with meaning. We existed, engaged deeply in university life. She vanished from my world, leaving only silence. Hospital records revealed, Jenkins added, that Rebecca Wilson was carrying quadruplets, a rare occurrence. Naturally, the moment would sync perfectly. As she walked away, Maxwell's heart sank, the truth hitting him like a tidal wave. She carried my children within her. That evening, Maxwell found himself isolated in his study, photographs scattered around him, Rebecca at university, laughter frozen beside a younger him. Everything was aligning, and the truth hit hard. Rebecca vanished, adopting a new name, and braved the storm of pregnancy on her own. She had perished in the act of giving life, and by some cruel twist of fate he had rediscovered them. Bound by a mysterious force, he felt a pull he could never comprehend. The question lingered, hauntingly unanswered. How could he break the news? Maxwell stepped through the swirling autumn leaves at Grant Enterprises Plaza, exchanging nods with the familiar security guards. At 58, Maxwell Grant commanded attention, silver hair gleaming, bespoke suit flawless, his stride filled with purpose and unwavering confidence. Only those nearest to him might catch the faint shadow under his eyes, the fleeting look of distance in meetings, the way he sometimes halted mid-sentence, as if grappling with a wandering thought. Mr. Grant, Tokyo investors await on line 3. Victoria's call echoed as he rushed past her desk. The quarterly reports demand your signature by noon. Maxwell nodded, taking the stack of documents with a weighty silence. What about the specialist appointment? It's done. 2 p.m., Victoria whispered. Your schedule is clear. In his office, Maxwell navigated his morning routine with precision, but his thoughts kept returning to the folder tucked away in his desk drawer, the one holding the truth that the 4 children he had adopted were truly his own flesh and blood. 2 weeks had slipped by since the discovery, and he remained paralyzed, unable to reveal this extraordinary truth. The Tokyo call flowed seamlessly until Maxwell's vision abruptly blurred. The room swayed dangerously, voices on the speakerphone fading into a haunting echo. Mr. Grant, are you with me? Maxwell struggled to speak, his words a tangled mess of confusion. Victoria's alarmed face rushed into his vision, then everything faded to black. He opened his eyes to the relentless beep of machines and Daniel's anxious expression looming close. Dad, Daniel cried, relief flooding his face. Finally, you're awake. Maxwell struggled to speak, his throat dry and aching. Daniel rushed to provide a cup of water, straw in hand, urgency in his eyes. What transpired? Maxwell struggled, but found his footing after a few sips. You collapsed during a conference call, Daniel said, his voice trembling with raw emotion. You've been out for nearly 6 hours. Maxwell scanned the private hospital room, shadows creeping ominously across the floor. Your brothers and sisters. Emily's returning from Boston tonight. Sophie and Michael sit anxiously with Mrs. Harper in the waiting room. Daniel paused, heart racing. Victoria reached out to us without hesitation. Maxwell nodded, trying to rise, but a sudden wave of dizziness slammed him back against the pillows. Dr. Abrams needs to talk, Daniel said, his finger hovering over the call button. While you lay unconscious, they conducted numerous tests. Dr. Abrams strode in, tall and composed, her kind eyes piercing through the air with unwavering resolve. She checked Maxwell's vitals, then shot a piercing look at Daniel. It's okay, Maxwell whispered, his voice trembling. He can remain. The doctor nodded, a silent agreement heavy with unspoken truths. Mr. Grant, your collapse was not due to stress or exhaustion as we first thought. Your blood work reveals alarming abnormalities, and the MRI has uncovered troubling masses in your bone marrow. A chilling realization gripped Maxwell's heart. Is it cancer? Dr. Abrams confirmed it. A rare form of leukemia? A bone marrow biopsy is necessary for confirmation, but the early signs are unmistakable. Daniel's face drained of color, his sharp mind racing through the grim odds of survival. What's the plan for treatment? Maxwell inquired, his instincts sharp and alert. Spot the issue, find the answers, take decisive steps. Dr. Abrams revealed the harsh truth. Aggressive chemotherapy is the standard path forward. Your best hope for lasting remission lies in a bone marrow transplant from a compatible donor, based on the markers we're observing. Siblings or children usually present the greatest chance of compatibility, Daniel said, his voice wavering. Dr. Abrams nodded, a silent agreement echoing in the charged air. Absolutely. Mr. Grant, do you have any biological relatives? The question hit Maxwell like a punchline, nearly drawing out a laugh. After 25 years of solitude, he uncovered the existence of 4 biological children, just when he needed them the most. Yes, Maxwell whispered, locking eyes with Daniel, who was lost in confusion. I think I do. That night, as Sophie and Michael dozed in hospital chairs beside his bed, Maxwell observed the rhythmic rise and fall of their breaths. Emily and Daniel rushed to finalize his discharge for the next day, determined to bring him home instead of leaving him in the hospital. The truth he had kept hidden now felt impossibly heavy. These children, his children in every way, could be the very key to his survival. But how could he reveal it now without appearing deceitful? How could he urge them to undergo testing without exposing the incredible bond that united them? With the first light spilling over the Manhattan skyline outside his hospital window, Maxwell Grant chose his path. Whatever the outcome, compatibility or conflict, his children had a right to know the truth. Shadows flickered in the living room of the E. Grant mansion, where the family huddled together, drawn by Maxwell's urgent call after his hospital stay. He masked his struggle, but the fear in his children's eyes told the truth. Before we discuss my treatment options, Maxwell began, his voice betraying none of the turmoil within. I have something crucial to reveal to everyone. Emily leaned in, a shiver of recognition coursing through her. This was tied to their quest for heritage. At 20, her keen insight often left Maxwell feeling unsettled. Dad, if this is about the adoption research, it can wait, she said, her voice trembling. Your health is everything now. Maxwell's head dropped, a silent storm brewing within. They share a bond, truly. He grasped the folder, its weight a reminder of the secrets it held, lingering in his desk drawer for far too long. Jenkins uncovered a shocking truth in the investigation, a revelation I've been waiting to reveal. At 16, Daniel mirrored Maxwell's mannerisms, studying his father's face with keen intensity. You knew our fate was sealed, he declared. Not inquiring about his birth mother, he opened the folder, pulling out a worn photograph of himself and Rebecca at graduation, brimming with hope and dreams. Sophie gasped, her heart racing as she leaned closer to the image. At 13, she saw the depth that others missed. Her eyes echo Emily's, while Michael carries her smile. Rebecca Winters, no Wilson. Maxwell's voice trembled, a fragile thread ready to snap. We shared those unforgettable university days. My love for her was boundless. Michael, usually silent, finally found his voice. What made her walk away? Maxwell confessed, I never knew. She vanished from my world, leaving only silence. She realized she was pregnant and decided to confront it by herself. Emily's eyes widened, realization crashing over her like a tidal wave. Are you implying? Maxwell nodded, tears brimming despite his struggle to hold it together. All the evidence Jenkins found pointed to one shocking truth. Rebecca was pregnant with quadruplets when she vanished. Everything aligns. The timing, the extraordinary birth of quadruplets, her new name. It all leads to one thought. We are your biological children, Daniel declared, the scientist within him piecing together the last fragments. The silence stretched on, heavy and suffocating, pierced only by the crackle of the fire and the relentless tick of the grandfather clock. Sophie sprang into action, hurtling across the room to envelop Maxwell in a fierce embrace. I always knew it. We were meant to be. Always. Maxwell clutched her fiercely, eyes darting to gauge the other's responses. Michael paused, the weight of the revelation pressing down on him. Daniel weighed the odds, the sheer improbability of their reunion hanging in the air. Emily stood frozen, tears cascading silently down her cheeks. Emily, Maxwell whispered softly. All this time, she breathed softly. We searched endlessly for our roots, only to find we were home all along. Dr. Abrams arrived the next morning, choosing the mansion for the compatibility testing instead of the hospital. With steady hands, she readied her tools, her voice steady yet filled with urgency, as she revealed the process to the gathered family. She prepared the first collection kit, noting that siblings have a 25–30% chance of matching as donors. Full siblings, particularly identical twins, share a deeper bond and greater compatibility. What about a parent to a child? Daniel asked, his voice heavy with concern. Rare, Dr. Abrams responded. Only a slim 5% chance. Only a slim 5% chance. Maxwell observed as every child, even Michael who loathed needles, bravely surrendered their blood samples. Their swift acceptance of the test, without a moment's doubt, struck him profoundly. Results in 48 hours, Dr. Abrams stated, hurriedly packing her samples. We'll evaluate all 4 children and determine compatibility if any matches emerge. Once she was gone, the family plunged into a tense silence, hearts racing with uncertainty. Their biological connection unveiled a haunting new reality, familiar yet transformed, as if they were gazing at each other through a veil of newfound clarity. Dr. Abrams' call arrived 2 days later. Maxwell's voice crackled through the speakerphone. The children huddled close to his study desk. Mr. Grant, her voice trembled, breaking the silence. This is unlike anything I've ever encountered in my career. Maxwell's heart plummeted. Maxwell's heart plummeted. No matches found. Not at all, she responded, her voice laced with disbelief. All 4 children are not just compatible donors, they are perfect matches. This is nearly impossible without a genetic reason behind it. As the call cut off, Emily spoke the unspoken truth that hung heavy in the air. Fate wove our paths, from the orphanage to this moment. Fate brought you here. Maxwell gazed at his 4 children, his own flesh and blood, and a wave of awe crashed over him. Some bonds, he whispered, defy time and circumstance, unbreakable in their essence. Next Tuesday, a transplant will happen, Maxwell told his children, going over Dr. Abrams' treatment plan. Daniel's marrow revealed the most powerful cellular profile. He will be the main donor. Daniel's nod was heavy with meaning. At just 16, he dove deep into medical literature on bone marrow donation, his analytical mind shaping every challenge he faced. What unfolds post-transplant? Sophie asked, her hands trembling as they twisted and untwisted a lock of hair, a telltale sign of her unease. It will be months before recovery, Maxwell replied, his voice heavy with truth. My body will be vulnerable as it adapts to Daniel's cells. Emily returned home from college, her life on hold to support her family. She turned the East Wing into a recovery suite, diving deep into hospital-grade sanitation procedures with relentless determination. Let's sort your personal papers before the procedure, she urged, her voice steady yet filled with urgency. We need to make sure everything's in place. Maxwell sensed her silent worry. Even with the bright outlook, she needed to brace for any possibility. Brilliant move. The study files demand sorting now. Michael, now 14, and the quietest of the siblings, suddenly found his voice. What's in the attic boxes? The ones from your old apartment, still sealed in time? All eyes were on Michael, in shock. Maxwell had hidden away boxes from his past in the attic, filled with memories and papers he never had the chance to sort through amid the chaos of corporate growth and the demands of fatherhood. Maxwell nodded in agreement. I had completely lost track of those. The attic expedition started that very afternoon. Maxwell, frail and weary, watched from his armchair as his children unearthed the remnants of his past. Look at this, Sophie exclaimed, pulling out a faded newspaper from 1991. Dad's inaugural company launch. Daniel stumbled upon university textbooks brimming with Maxwell's meticulous notes, while Emily discovered awards and certificates chronicling his transformation from scholarship student to business prodigy. Michael found the small locked box. What is this? He inquired, revealing a battered wooden case with a faded brass lock. Maxwell's gaze locked onto it, a wave of recognition crashing through him. Rebecca gave me that, he whispered, his voice heavy with emotion. On my 21st birthday. It's been untouched for years. Maxwell's fingers shook as he revealed a small key from his wallet, a relic of years gone by, now pulsing with unspoken significance. The lock clicked open, unveiling a trove of photographs, scrawled notes, and a sealed envelope, marked with Maxwell's unmistakable handwriting. He whispered, lifting the envelope. This wasn't here before. I would have never forgotten. The children huddled close as Maxwell broke the seal, revealing a letter from 23 years ago, just 9 months before they came into the world. Dear Maxwell, I never intended to vanish without a word, but the thought of shattering the future you fought for was unbearable. The letter unfolded, exposing the truth they had gathered, each word cutting deep with painful clarity. Rebecca learned she was pregnant, quadruplets, a stunning revelation for her doctors. Recognizing Maxwell's relentless drive to build his empire, aware of his ambition and the sacrifices he had made, she opted for solitary parenthood, unwilling to disrupt his dreams. "You would have chosen me in an instant, leaving behind your dreams, giving up all you've built," the letter went on. "I couldn't force you to choose between your dreams and us. One day, when your empire stands tall and our children have grown, destiny may weave our paths together once more. This letter is for my mother, to be delivered if I don't make it." Maxwell's voice cracked, the weight of the final lines crashing down on him. "I loved you enough to set you free, and I cherish our children enough to hope they will one day know their father. Forever yours, Rebecca." The attic was heavy with silence, the weight of the letter's implications pressing down on them. Rebecca had meant for Maxwell to discover their children if disaster struck, but something had gone horribly wrong. The letter remained undelivered, a silent weight between them. By an incredible twist of fate, Maxwell had discovered them after all. Emily broke the silence, tears cascading down her cheeks. Her love was fierce, a bittersweet farewell that carved a way home. Maxwell nodded, silence engulfing him, clutching the final words of the woman he had always loved, the mother of the children who had saved him in ways he could never forget. Autumn sunlight pierced the sterile air of Maxwell's recovery suite, weaving shadows that danced across his bed. 3 months since the transplant, the journey was tough, but today was a turning point. Dr. Abrams announced with a spark of hope, her eyes scanning the latest results on the tablet. "Blood counts are on the rise. Your body is embracing Daniel's cells with astonishing ease." Maxwell nodded faintly from his recliner, thin and pale, yet a flicker of life ignited in his eyes. "When will I be back to normal?" Dr. Abrams' smile held a world of secrets. "Let's take a breath and hold on. Your immune system is still fragile, but each day brings new strength. Brief strolls in the garden are acceptable, but public areas remain forbidden for at least another month." From his spot by the window, Daniel watched the exchange, his curiosity piqued. At 16, he transformed into an amateur expert in oncology and transplantation, watching his father's recovery with unwavering focus. Daniel observed the rapid cell regeneration, sensing his body's instinctive recognition of the genetic bond. "The bond between parent and child seems to be boosting recovery rates." Dr. Abrams nodded, a silent agreement heavy with unspoken weight. "You're absolutely right. I've never witnessed such seamless unity, even among twins." Once the doctor left, Emily stepped in, carrying a tray of meticulously crafted food, immune-safe, nutrient-rich, born from her unexpected semester away from college. "You remain 10 pounds under your baseline." Maxwell felt a warmth spread through him at her mothering tone. "Absolutely, ma'am." In the shadow of his illness, everything changed in their home. Once reliant on his strength, the children now united, fiercely rallying around him in his time of need. Emily took charge, Daniel offered healing, Sophie sensed the mood, and Michael, unexpectedly, connected Maxwell to the world beyond. Michael entered with his father's secure tablet, reporting that the Tokyo expansion was on track. At 14, he astonishingly uncovered a talent for business, becoming Maxwell's keen observer at Grant Enterprises, while Victoria handled the daily grind. Michael pressed on, urging you to weigh in on the Thompson negotiation that Richard is eager to discuss. "I informed him you'd go over the terms this afternoon." Michael pondered the question, his mind racing with intensity. Thompson's leverage falls short of their expectations. Their Midwest distribution hangs by a thread, crippled by the shipping strikes. "I will stand resolute on our initial proposal." Maxwell felt a powerful wave of pride engulf him. Absolutely spot on. The afternoon slipped by quietly, Maxwell tackling a few urgent tasks as his strength waned. Sophie burst in after school, quickly positioning her easel beside his recliner. She spoke of your recovery journey, blending colors with practiced precision. At 13, her artistic talent erupted into something extraordinary. "This one reveals the moment your cells and Daniel's cells forge an unexpected bond." Maxwell laughed, yet her words struck a deep chord within him, resonating with unexpected truth. Blue and gold twist together, forming breathtaking new designs. As dusk fell, the family came together for their nightly meal. In Maxwell's suite, a ritual born from his darkest days felt utterly unattainable. Even as he could finally join them below, they held onto the tradition, turning his recovery space into the soul of their home. "I have something to share," Emily said, her voice trembling as they finished eating. Columbia has greenlit my research proposal, diving deep into the emotional journey of adoptive families, uncovering biological ties. They've allowed me to finish this semester from afar as I pursue my research. That's incredible, Maxwell exclaimed, his joy unmistakable. Our tale could save someone, Emily pressed on. Not merely a biological fluke, but the profound psychological and emotional journey of uncovering hidden ties. Daniel's head dipped in silent agreement. The odds of our situation are staggering. A geneticist at MIT is captivated by our case, and I've been collaborating with them. Maxwell pondered deeply. His voice surged, filled with undeniable resolve. Rebecca's letter revealed that her mother, your grandmother, was meant to deliver it. Maybe she's out there, breathing, waiting. Maybe there are hidden family ties yet to be unveiled. The siblings locked eyes, a silent pact igniting between them. They found themselves, uncovering their roots and strengthening their connections through a shared mission and unwavering support. As darkness enveloped the room, Maxwell settled in, eyes fixed on his children. His miraculous, extraordinary children. They had shifted from orphans to family, from strangers to saviors, evolving into his greatest surprise and his deepest strength. The Grant Foundation. The building sparkled in the morning light, its sleek glass and steel form towering 12 stories over the vibrant chaos of Manhattan. 5 years since Maxwell's diagnosis and miraculous recovery, today was the grand opening of the foundation's new headquarters. Are you set, Dad? Emily adjusted Maxwell's tie, her fingers steady yet charged with unspoken tension. At 25, she stood as a poised young woman, her psychology doctorate almost in hand, her groundbreaking research on adoptive family dynamics capturing national acclaim. Maxwell nodded, eyes locked on his reflection in the lobby's mirrored wall. At 63, he radiated a vitality unseen in years. He stood tall, eyes bright, the ghost of sickness vanished, replaced by a fierce vitality. With determination, Daniel stepped forward, tablet clutched tightly, eyes scanning the final details. By 21, he had earned his master's in biochemical engineering and led the Foundation's medical research division, dedicated to enhancing bone marrow transplant protocols. The press gathers, mayors racing in, 10 minutes behind. Governors here. Sophie, 18 and a freshman at Parsons, took a breath as she made a final adjustment to the massive canvas in the lobby. Her boldest creation, revealing family trees that twist and turn in surprising ways. The lighting is perfect, she said, her gaze sharp yet content. At just 19, Michael has already begun to shine as an intern at Grant Enterprises, showcasing his remarkable business acumen. Auditoriums packed, no space left to breathe. Old Maxwell gazed at his 4 children, his greatest treasures, and a surge of gratitude washed over him, silencing him in its intensity. At last he succeeded. Thank you, every single one of you. This moment's journey was nothing short of extraordinary. Maxwell's recovery ignited a profound change that transcended mere physical healing. The Rebecca Wilson Grant Foundation was his heart's calling, driven by 3 fierce missions: uplifting adoptive families, fueling research on rare blood cancers, and creating a lifeline to reunite biological relatives torn apart by fate. The elevator ascended, doors opening to a sea of eager faces: medical professionals, adoption advocates, government officials, and families forever changed by the Foundation's mission. They stepped onto the stage, and the applause roared like a storm. Maxwell stepped up to the podium, his children by his side, a powerful testament to their shared journey. Silence fell as he started to speak. 25 years ago, Rebecca faced a heart-wrenching decision, one fueled by love and profound sacrifice. She thought she was choosing between 2 diverging paths, her children's futures and my own. Unbeknownst to her, those paths were fated to intertwine once more. Maxwell scanned the room, locking eyes with those he knew. Victoria, unwavering in her loyalty. Eleanor Wellington, the light in his darkest days. Even Richard Hargrove realized at last that Maxwell's true legacy transcended wealth. 5 years ago, I received news that shattered my world. It unveiled an astonishing truth. The 4 children I had adopted years ago were, in reality, my own flesh and blood. The chances of this reunion are impossibly slim. Some may label it fate, some a touch of the divine. Maxwell glanced at his children, his voice trembling with tenderness. It's the force of connection, an unseen thread that ties us to those we're destined to meet, regardless of the barriers in our way. The ceremony reached its peak with the unveiling of the foundation's heart, a memorial garden crafted by Sophie, showcasing a striking bronze sculpture of a woman with arms wide open. Rebecca's image, born from snapshots and Maxwell's cherished memories, would forever honor the woman whose love ignited their remarkable tale. With the ribbons severed and cheers erupting, Maxwell was engulfed by a profound sense of fulfillment. His once empty life overflowed, not with riches or accolades, but with the profound love of 4 extraordinary children who filled his heart completely. Long before he understood their bond, his heart chose her. "Proud," she whispered as her hand found his. "Among us all." Maxwell nodded, words trapped in a tight grip of emotion. Completion echoed in the air. Rebecca's dream of a united family had come true, flourishing into a legacy of love that would resonate through generations. In the garden that afternoon, as guests left and the thrill faded, Maxwell found himself alone before Rebecca's memorial. In the silence, he breathed. "We found each other," his voice trembling against her bronze form. "Exactly as you dreamed we would. They are all you ever wished for." Stunning. Heartfelt. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. A soft breeze rustled the young trees, and for a fleeting moment Maxwell felt as if Rebecca had truly listened. The unseen bond that pulled him to his children, first to his heart, and then to their shared truth, had finished its task, intertwining their separate lives into a fabric of belonging that nothing could tear apart. Maxwell Grant, once a titan of wealth and power, found true riches in an unexpected moment. As his children gathered around him in the garden, he felt an undeniable truth. No empire, no fortune, no achievement could ever rival the miracle of family. A miracle patiently awaiting his arrival.